Well, hello there, and Happy New Year to everybody. This is your old pal Red the Fox, and I am Anthony Gamer. And in today's episode, we're going to have our top 10 20th Century Fox games for the Atari 2600. Now, 20th Century Fox Games, later called Fox Interactive, and then eventually was gone, and then now I think it's part of the Walt Disney Corporation, was a film company that started in the 1930s and was well known for making some of the greatest movies ever made there. Yep, that's for sure. And in the early 80s, like many other companies, they decided to jump on the then profitable video game market. One of 20th Century Fox Games' objectives was to make games based on some of their movies. Now, whether these movies were financially successful or not, and whether they actually deserved a game tie in, was something that they really didn't think too much about. Unfortunately, they actually would make some games that were based on some bad movies that actually turned out to be some pretty good games there. Yeah, and they had some plans to make some games based on movies that I just honestly cannot imagine having a game tie-in, such as 9 to 5. Aside from that fact, I also had some other prototype games that didn't get released. But we're not going to talk none about none of those on today's episode, as we're going to just focus on the games that did get a commercial release. They also had some original games that weren't based on any of their movies or properties, and some of those games also made it onto today's top 10. So before we go any further there, I just want to give our usual disclaimer that we mean absolutely no disrespect to anybody. These are strictly our opinions, and you're welcome to disagree with us if you want to, because after all, everyone is entitled to their own opinion. So without further ado, let's get into the games there. And starting off at the number 10 spot there, we have Bank Heist. This was released in 1983 and was programmed by Bill Espromonte. Now, in this game, what you're trying to do is rob as many banks as possible before running out of getaway cars. Disabling cop cars with dynamite increases your score and causes more banks to appear in the town. Running into cop cars or accidentally dynamiting your own car will abruptly halt your little joyride. So, yeah, pretty fun game there. Not really based on any properties, but it kind of brings to mind, by looking at the cover there, the 1930s, the time of Bonnie and Clyde and all that good stuff. Really a fun game, and definitely a game that's really criminally overlooked in the 20th Century Fox Atari 2600 library. Coming in at the number 9 spot, we have kind of a bizarre game called Revenge of the Beefsteak Tomatoes. Now, this was released in 1983 and was programmed by a gentleman named John Russell. Now, the objective to this game is to trap the tomato plants at the bottom of the screen by building 3 walls above them. At the same time, you must avoid or shoot down all flying tomatoes, dodge tomato bombs, and stop the brick eaters. Pretty cool game, and honestly, what I like about it is I think you have unlimited lives, because I got hit quite a few times, at least on the one level I was playing. And boy, it just goes nuts there. And yeah, it may sound like it's based on that one particular movie that George Clooney was in, but it's really not. But overall, it's a really fun, if not very addictive game. Okay, you want to tell the story behind you finding this game? Sure. Now, when we made this list a while back, I didn't even include this game, Space Master X7, on the list, because frankly, I didn't even know the game existed. Now, I was at a used video game store nearby, and I happened to be looking through the 2600 games, and I saw this one there for about $30, which I was like, wow, that's a lot. I'm not even familiar with this game. So I looked it up, and then I decided to try it, and it's a really cool game. Now, this was released in 1983 and was programmed by Dave Lubar. Now, the story behind this game is your assault ship was specifically designed to destroy Hypernian military bases. Destroy as many as possible. You can fire missiles in the gaps in the force field from inside the force field or outside. If you are able to sneak inside, you must quickly destroy the base before the force field closes on your ship. This is no easy task, and it's not. I tell you, this is definitely one of those rare and hard to find games that's actually pretty good. And in fact, it's actually the most rare game that 20th Century Fox Games made. Okay, next up we have Fantastic Voyage, and this game is based on a science fiction movie, and in this one they've shrunk down these people to microscopic size, and they are going inside a person's bloodstream, and they're trying to fight infections like bacteria, viruses, and all kinds of fun stuff. Not a bad game, honestly, very original for its time period. I've never seen the movie, have you? Nope, I can't say that I have. The game, though, itself is pretty cool, and it's a lot of fun. If you haven't tried this game yet, I highly recommend giving it a try. Porky's is basically a coming-of-age movie. Got to be one of those movies that, young boys see, and it's kind of one of those movies that you just never truly forget. And that's really all I'm going to say about it, because it really hasn't held up too well in these ultra-sensitive days. So I'm not really going to get into why Porky's is such an important film to a lot of people. But anyway, all right, the game itself, coming in at the number 6 slot, was released in 1983 and was programmed by Randall Hyde. In this game, you take on the role of Edward Pee Wee Morris, and you are trying to basically break into Porky's and blow the place up. I first played this game many years ago. It was pretty readily available. Honestly, it's probably the least rare game that 20th Century Fox ever made. The controls on it aren't the greatest, which, although I have a lot of fond memories playing this game, honestly, the main reason it's not higher is because of the controls, especially in that bottom level where you're trying to swing back and forth on that pole. I can't tell you the number of times I just kept falling in the drink, and it's not just me. Other YouTubers have had the same gripe, but overall, it's kind of one of those games that you look kind of back with nostalgia, and yeah, it's like I said, it's a good game. Just if it hadn't been for them pesky controls and stuff, I think it would have been a lot higher on the list. Next up, we have Flash Gordon at the number 5 spot, also known as Space Adventure in other parts of the world. This is based on that really cool movie that came out in the 80s. Okay, well, this wasn't, in my opinion, one of the best versions of Flash Gordon. Personally, like Anthony, I really enjoyed that cartoon movie that they made better. But anyway, so this was released in 1982 and was programmed once again by David Lubar. In this game, many dedicated spacemen have entered Spider City, but none has ever been heard from again. It's up to you, Flash Gordon, to rescue any surviving spacemen and to conquer this hideous city of tunnels. Spider City is conquered when all of its hatchling pods are eliminated. It doesn't hurt to blast a few generators or enemy patrol ships while you're there. So anybody who was a fan of the whole Flash Gordon films, comics, etc., you're going to love this. And also if you just happen to like space shooter video games. Next up, we have Alien, that is based on that really awesome sci-fi horror movie. This game was released in 1982 and was programmed by Doug Neubauer. In this game, your job is to run through the hallways of your spaceship and crush all the alien eggs which have been placed there. You must also avoid or destroy the adult aliens and snatch up as many prizes as possible. Now, there would be many games based on the Alien franchise, and this would be the first one. There would be some great ones that would come later. This isn't one of the best out of all those games, but it was one of the best games made by 20th Century Fox. Not wholly original, as you can see, it's a maze game, but yet still it is a whole lot of fun and one that I do like to play again from time to time. Okay, and coming in at the number 3 spot there, we have Worm War 1 that was released in 1982 and once again programmed by David Lubar. Now, this game got a whole lot of publicity back in the day, and you gotta admit, it had a really cool cover. Let's just put that right up there on the screen. Okay, here it is. Cool. Now, I remember it had a cool commercial with a song and everything. Really smart marketing, I tell you. Now, in this game, your mission as a Master Tank Commander is to drive through the city of Teriyaki and blast away as many worms and blocks as possible without running out of fuel. Really a fun game. Simplistic graphics, but I tell you, the fun factor in this game is so freaking high. That's why, in our opinion, it had to be high up on this list. Okay, and next up at the number 2 spot, we have a game that really holds a special place in my heart, and one that I just enjoyed playing a whole lot as a kid, and that is Fast Eddie. Now, this game was released in 1982, and it was programmed by Mark Turmel. Now, what is going on in this game? Well, your objective is to help Eddie capture as many floating prizes as he can jump up and grab. You must keep Eddie hopping over the pesky little sneakers while quitting him up and down and around the screen. Yeah, it's a really fun game. Simplistic, honestly, but I mean, it is just so much fun, and you just want to see how many different prizes they can keep coming. How many different prizes just with each new level. And it's just fun. I've played this game for hours straight, sometimes the same game, just to see, like I said, what the prizes were. And boy, those sneakers get bigger and faster as time goes on, but really just a real fun game. Honestly, the fun is got to be at least a 10 on this, in our opinion anyway. What do you guys think? And finally, we make it to the number 1 game, and that is MASH. Now, whether this game is based on the TV show or on the movie is irregardless. It's just a really cool game, and the fun factor is really high. Very smart marketing behind this game, which again doesn't matter as much, but I mean, let's face it, the show was probably one of the greatest shows ever. I mean, the show ran longer than the war it was supposed to take place in. This game was released in 1983 and was programmed by Doug Neubauer and Frank Cohen. Now, in this game, you take on the role of Hawkeye Pierce, and you're trying to pilot that helicopter and pick up as many wounded soldiers as possible, and then get them back to the barracks, and then try to get the bullet out of the body without touching the side. It's kind of like 2 games in 1. You're doing a rescue mission, and you're kind of playing a video game version of the game Operation. Really a cool game. There was going to be a version for the ColecoVision, but it never got released. But you can get the ROM out there, and a really cool marketing thing that they did was you could actually get a free t-shirt if you bought the game, which if you were around back in the early 80s, obviously a lot of people bought this game because there were a whole lot of MASH shirts out there, I remember, from back in the day. Oh yeah, there sure were. So we had very little discussion, and it was an easy decision for us to make MASH the number 1 game on this list. Well, that concludes this episode of Anthony and Red's Top 10. We really hope you all enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, let us know by giving us a great big thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget to click that little bell icon down there so you'll be notified when we upload any new videos. Yes, and if you agree with our list or disagree, let us know in the comments section below. We'd really like to hear what you have to say. So, Red, what is going to be our next top 10 list? Well, as we're on the Atari 2600 kick, I thought it'd be a good idea to do our next top 10 about in-house Atari games. Good idea. So, these games were published by Atari. They may be ports of arcade games, but they were published in-house. So that will be our next top 10. Well, until next time, I am Anthony Gamer, and I am Red the Fox, and we will see you all in the next installment of Anthony and Red's Top 10. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Bye, everybody. Bye for now.